welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today, the man who is thoughts become things, neo-positivity. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
And as soon as I played that intro, I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm not sure Neil's coming. Sorry, wrong intro. But that's okay.
It's okay.
It's all good. It's kind of part of the course. We're at the end of the week, and the end of the week is kind of a time for stock and slowing down, taking a breath. So, what better way to do that? That's the way I look at that.
That's exactly right.
So anyway, we are welcoming a guest, Terry Wildemann. Am I pronouncing your name, Terry? Terry Wildemann.
You are. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I practice these things. I don't always get it right. I try my best, but sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. But I got it right, so I'm going to celebrate that. But anyway, Terry is a very interesting person. She, among other things, she's a coach, she's an author, she's got all this stuff going on, but she's herself an intuitive truth detective. I like that phrase. It's a very interesting phrase, intuitive truth. I mean, it's evocative. It gives you an idea of what's going on. But I also have a slight suspicion, let's just put it that way, that there's a little bit more to it than the eye. So, Terry, welcome to the program. Glad you can make it.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And it was one of my clients who coined that. It was one of my clients who told me that you are an intuitive truth detective. I went, can I use that? So there you go.
It's a good phrase. Yeah.
It's a great phrase.
Statement and everything. Yeah. Very good. Does it have special meaning in a particular way? I mean, do you think of that in a particular way when you think of that phrase?
Well, it when I hear it, because usually, my moniker that I use is Intuitive Success Navigator, because I help entrepreneurs navigate through a lot of different things. When I hear the intuitive truth detective, in a former life, in my 20s, my degree is in criminal justice, and I was in law enforcement. And one of the things about and I always say this when I teach leadership and team building and all that other good stuff, that no matter what kind of job you've had, it contributed to where you are at this very moment. And being in law enforcement, it was also, for me anyway, it was all about getting to the truth. And it was about asking the open-ended questions and being the detective and on and on and on. And my very first internship out of college in law enforcement was as a detective. So when she said that, it's like, wow, that's taking me full circle.
Well, that is the way it works, actually. I mean, I found the same thing in my life. All the various disparate skills that I was developing in my teens, my 20s, and my 30s, they all served later on to do things like help me create a podcast. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing how it all comes together. And of course, when you're going through learning all that stuff, the last thing on your mind is what it ends up at. But that's where it ends up at. It ends up where it needed to end up in the first place.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Now, you also have I presume you're the creator of this. I'm kind of intuiting that you are the creator of the Intuitive Leadership or Intuitive Entrepreneurs Program. I'm not quite sure which label you give to it.
Yes.
It's like an online community university kind of a thing, isn't it?
Well, it started out that way, and I owned a leadership center from 2001 to 2009. It was a brick and mortar. And so basically what I did was during 2020, when we were all shut in home, I took my website and transferred everything from the leadership center onto my website. So what we are doing now is it's personal and professional development. I'm also a holistic practitioner. So what I do is I help entrepreneurs integrate the practical, tactical, and the logical with the emotional, the energetic, and the spiritual. And we do that by focusing on 3 areas of business: the spiritual side first, then the personal side, and then the practical side. And when we integrate those 3 sides, you have a harmonious business. Because you're grounded, you're centered, you can see things from the 30,000-foot view, you can see things at ground level. And yes, we include intuition and law of attraction, and we include clearing out all the self-sabotaging bananas that we have inside of us that get in the way of success.
So sometimes a little harsher than bananas, but I get the drift. I totally do.
Yeah, well, I usually use a four-letter word when I say that, but
Yeah,
I'm not going to do that here.
Oh, I forgot to mention, Debbie G wanted to be here today. She and Joe had to go deal with a last minute thing. That was totally out of the blue, so they're not going to be able to make it this week. But Debbie will be here next week for sure. Especially with her friend Claudia coming onto the program. That's going to be cool. And we're going to have a special musical guest. So just kind of a heads up that that's going to be happening. But Debbie won't be able to join us today. And I'm still hoping that Neil might be able to join us. I'm not really sure. I haven't heard one way or the other, but we will see what happens with that. But in the meantime, we will just continue to get to know Terry. And hello, Sam and Kimberly in the live stream. Nice to see you guys. Now, Terry, you were describing to me earlier before we started doing today's episode some of your background and your life and so forth. And I don't want to get into all of that, but one of the things that kind of came through as we were talking about that is no matter how much we get into what we generically call conscious creation, right? Law of attraction, spirituality, all that kind of stuff. No matter how much we get into that, all of us deal with the real world. All of us deal with it in our own ways from various backgrounds, from quite different viewpoints, which is one of the reasons I do the podcast, by the way, because I love the different viewpoints. And yet we still end up coming to much the same kinds of conclusions, at least within our circles, about how life works, how the universe works, how to put stuff together in a way that's going to be most effective for ourselves, how to maintain discipline over our own minds so that we don't get the stuff that we don't want and all that kind of thing. How is it, do you think, why is it that we all end up in that same place? That's something that I've been kind of contemplating lately, and I don't really know what the answer is on that. I'm kind of curious what you think.
Well, I'm curious to know what you mean by the same place, because I'm not convinced that all of us end up at the same place.
Oh, okay. Well,
I do.
There's another perspective, right?
Okay. I do. Well, here's the thing. I do believe in choice. Okay. I do believe in what I mean by choice is every single moment of every single day we have choices. And if the same thing means being where you're meant to be, yes, I agree with you. Our choices, depending on what they are and whatever it is our soul needs to learn, based on our choices, it learns and it ends up where it's supposed to be. So from that perspective, yes, I do believe we end up where we are meant to be. However, some of our choices really kick us in the tail because they're the wrong choices, or they really elevate us because they're the great choices, or we allow other people's voices to get in the way and steer us away from what we really want to do to something we really don't want to do. And that also is a choice. So I'm really not sure that we end up all in the same place because of our power of choice.
Well, I think there's a lot to be said for what you're describing there. I think what I had in mind when I said that we end up in the same places, there's sort of a general set of agreed upon ideas around current spiritual / new age thinking. And it's kind of evolved over decades. It's been in a lot of different places. People have come from a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different ways of teaching it and understanding it have been explained. But it's got to the point now where no matter where you come from, there's like a set of, I hesitate to call them rules, but there's a set of understandings that has become quite universal. And what I love about it the most is that there's been no authority figure saying this is how it's going to happen. It just kind of happened naturally. It was sort of like an entropy, an evolution over time that got to the point where different people from different points of view, different perspectives, different experiences, all starting to move into the same space. Now, I have to kind of put a little caveat on there, of course, because conscious creator circles are still a very small percentage of the overall population, but it's a growing population. And it continues to grow.
It is.
And it continues to evolve. It's almost like there's and the best explanation I have for this is that we're all connected on a spiritual level. But it's almost like there's this group conscious activity all tending toward the same thing. And that's what I meant when I said we're all kind of coming to the same place together.
Well, I think a lot of us who are spiritual those of us who have walked away from dogma, those of us who
Mm.
understand that our intuition and our heart, we're being called up in a big way. And that group of people that are being called up, and they're all different folks who are being called up, they just can't stay
Right.
silent any longer. And even, when I opened my center in 2001, it was called the Winds of Change Holistic Education and Leadership Center. And I did then for 9 years what I do now. The thing is, I was ahead of my time.
Mhm.
And I will never forget one woman saying, "You're creating a cult. You're using the word holistic. This is awful. This is evil." I'm like, oh God. And that was in the middle of a training class. It was
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Okay.
it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing now is that it is time. People within, whether you're in the workplace, whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is, people are feeling this energy. This energy is moving so fast.
It
Things
is.
are evolving so quickly. And those of us who are being called up to do this work are answering the call. And they're answering
Wh-
the call in their way.
It's true. I can't honestly say that I ever thought of it as a call until that people told me that it was a call. I said, okay, yeah, I guess, sure, why not? I'll go with that one. But I didn't think of it as a call. I didn't feel like somebody called me on my iPhone and said, "Hey, well, it's time to do something different here." It wasn't like that.
Well, it wasn't like that for me either. For me, it was just, I've always been pulled to this. I've always been in leadership. I've always been in intuition. I've always been connected with the angels. I'm a medium. I've been able to talk to the other side. I've always been there, but what I'm seeing is an intense inner feeling. When I say call, it's this inner feeling, this inner knowledge that's just getting bigger
Mm,
and bigger and
it
bigger
is.
and more intense.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I mean, I never considered myself to be terribly well connected on the other side. Certainly never would have called myself a medium. I still don't. I still would never really say that I'm a highly intuitive person, although I'm getting better at it for sure. Um, but what I have noticed that, well, you described it as being pulled there. I got kind of pushed there. It's just like you're going here whether you want it or not. So my
Yeah.
circumstances are kind of in alignment with Walt's going to go this way. He doesn't know it yet, but he will.
Well, I'll tell you when it really smacked me in the face was when we're a military family, and my husband's ship happened to be in Valparaiso, Chile, and I was walking through Valparaiso, never even heard of the place before. My husband said, "Hey, the ship's going to be ported here. I'd like for you to come and meet the ship." And I did, and I'm walking through that city, and I realized I had been there before.
Oh, wow.
And my insides were like, what is going on here?
Mm.
And I went back to my 2-year-old that was being taken care of by my parents in Miami. And I went back to get her on my way home. And my parents' next door neighbors, I was telling him about my little experience. And he said, "Hold on a minute." He ran next door and he brought me back the book, Many Lives, Many Masters. And I
Oh,
couldn't stop reading it. It validated everything I knew to be true. Everything. My mother, of course, who was a devout Catholic, thought I was turning into a witch at that time. And good witches. I mean, I'm a good witch, but she was like, she was like,
hey, witchcraft is witchcraft. You know that. Come on.
it was like, and then we moved up here to where we are now, and a week after I was here, darn it, there wasn't a course called Many Lives, Many Masters at one of the little local centers. And there were 5 of us who showed up. 5 is the number of change in numerology. And sure enough, for 2 years, the 5 of us studied past life regression. We found out it was just a mind-blowing experience. And then it was during that time that I became a Reiki master. And when I did my level 1 Reiki, whoa, it's like all my gifts started to explode.
Oh, wow.
I could see things. I could hear things. I could feel things. I do Reiki on someone, and I would take on their their pain, which is not a good thing. Trust me.
Not really, no.
That's why I don't do Reiki anymore.
That's where boundaries are very, very important.
It is, and I had to be very careful. And it was just this. I wasn't looking for that as much as, to your credit, it found me. It's like the egg cracked open.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it just kept growing and growing and fine tuning to where I am today. And it's going to continue.
Good because you recognize it as an egg cracking opening. I had to get the 2x4 to the side of the head before I actually noticed it. So you did it the nice, gentle way. I have to congratulate you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, but the people around me weren't very happy. Let me tell you, the people around me thought I was nuts. And, and a lot of us who do this kind of work, unfortunately, those who are still at the 3D level look at us like we're Looney Tunes, and and I'm thinking, how can you not think this way? This is.
It's interesting you say that, because I can actually go both ways on this. I really can, because I mean, we live in a 3D world. We're dealing with people all the time. That's just part of it.
That's right. Right.
And I've gotten used to thinking about, well, first of all, because I had so many years of it, but also just through interacting with people, I've gotten used to thinking about what it's like from that perspective. It's a perspective I don't share anymore, but I still know that one. It's not like it's completely foreign to me. It's like it disappeared from my life and I had this big spiritual consciousness awakening and it's all disappeared. No, I mean, you still know. You know what it's like.
Well, you do. If you live on this planet, you're still a part of it. There's a part, and it is important to be able to hear what the folks who are at 3D are saying. However, we can understand what they're saying, but they can't understand what we're talking about. That's what I find. It's oftentimes in law of attraction, we talk about the radio dial, how you can't be listening to two different stations at the same time.
Right. Not without two different receivers.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the people who are in my world, who are in that three-dimensional world, I just get quiet and I just listen. I don't say very much, but I just listen, because it is a very different perspective, and they're entitled to their perspective.
Yeah, of course. There's nothing wrong with it.
Exactly.
There's nothing improper or anything like that. It's just a different way of looking at things.
It's just a different way, and it's okay. Now, as long as they don't judge me, we're good. We're simpatico. But if it's when we get to that judgment piece that it's like, okay, let's not go there.
Well, judgment is part of the challenge, and it's not like judgment's ever going to go away. Let's be perfectly honest. We live in a world of polarity, and when you live in a world of polarity, there's going to be judgment. Yes, there is to be. That's just the way it works. So really, I think it has to do with coming to terms with, how am I going to respond to judgment? How am I going to feel about it? Okay, I'm being judged. So what? Shrug the shoulders, move on. Big deal.
The word respect comes up for me there, because you can judge another person, and it's about respecting them. But when you judge them without respect, and you don't treat them well, that's when there's challenges.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. The other thing I've been noticing too, we've been talking about what's been happening within conscious creator circles, but as I think about people in my life, right now, you and I actually both live in New England, and my wife's family lives in your neck of the woods in Rhode Island. When we're visiting them in Rhode Island, most of them aren't into any of this stuff at all. My wife and I are, but the rest of them aren't. And so we kind of take the same approach that you do. We're very low key about it. We don't try to push it on anybody or anything like that. And yet, I can still see curiosity. They're not ready to ask questions yet. Right? They're not ready to jump on board. They're still critical of it all, but there's like that little twinkle in the eye that says, I wonder. I can see it more and more and more. And that to me is so encouraging. Because what that really says to me is, what has been happening with me, what happened to you, what has happened to all of us in these circles is happening to them.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's a really
It is exciting. And it's nice to see folks who at least be open and want to hear more. They may not agree with it, but there's a more open energy where they're willing to hear what you have to say when you go to that place
Mm-hmm.
and maybe talk about it, ask questions to learn more. I don't, there are certain people in my world that I just don't bring any of this up because I know
Yeah.
that it is just shut down. I don't want
Yeah.
it. I don't want to go there. I don't want to know about emotions. I don't want to know about spirituality. I don't. They are very black and white, and they're done. And that okay. That's
Yeah.
fine.
That's pretty much
And
it.
I'm a researcher. I research everything. I study as much as I possibly can. I am constantly learning and reading and growing and expanding and do it every single day. And
Nice.
it's because not all, I want to, perspective is huge. And when you hear something and you sit there and wonder, is that true? Is that, does that feel right? And if it doesn't feel right, but I hear it, I still go and research and
Oh, okay.
study and learn and work at standing in the shoes of the other person who shared the
Right.
information with me and understand it through their eyes, their ears, their heart, and their soul.
Which is a good way to do it for sure. Because that has both the advantage of being respectful, as you were talking about,
Yeah.
and it helps you to keep doing your expanding because
Yep.
you're a living being just like I am. We're not here to sit back and look at everybody else. We're here to live. We're here to enjoy. We're here to have fun. We're here to do all the stuff that we're here to do. So when I hear
Mm-hmm.
somebody talking about how they're doing this growth stuff, I say, yeah, grow. All right, go. I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
And, we want our students, at least in my case anyway, I want my students to learn as much as they possibly can and be better than me. I want them to reach their full potential. I want
mm,
them to, and I don't like to use the word I want. My, uh, because it's not about what I want, it's about for them. For them, it would be brilliant that they take what we learn and they just flow, grow. They get out of that chrysalis, they become that amazing transformational butterfly that they're supposed to be in this life.
that's a big deal too, because when you're that butterfly, then first of all, you're spreading your wings, and second of all, you are setting yourself up to be a flyer. You're
There we
you're
are.
you're trying to ah yeah, we kind of froze up there for a second there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but as I was just describing, when you're that butterfly, you're first of all you're learning to spread your wings. As
Yeah.
part of coming out of the chrysalis, is you're beating your way out
Hmm.
of the chrysalis, and you're also learning to fly. I
Yes.
mean, yeah, you're a butterfly, but that doesn't mean you automatically know how to fly. You still have to learn how to fly.
Yeah.
Even if you have the
Exactly.
tools, you still have to learn, right?
You need.
Not that
And,
it doesn't have to take so long. It doesn't have to take years and years, but you still
that's
have to
right.
learn it. You still have to go through the steps.
And the butterfly doesn't necessarily need the kind of support system that we humans do.
No.
And we humans, the one thing that I think is the most important thing is to be able to ask for help. So many of us are resistant to asking for help and elevating and expanding. Okay, well, ask for help. And here's the thing,
I'm
because
just
it's in,
pointing at myself because I'm one of those people who has struggled for years with asking for help. I
okay.
mean,
Well, here's my perspective. Those of us who are fearful of asking for help, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot.
no
And
kidding.
when but when you do ask for help, it's a sign of strength. Not asking for help is
Mm,
actually a sign of weakness because no one can do it all on their own. No one.
no.
And when we ask for help and work as a team, we accomplish so much more and we're able to rise in such a big, powerful way that it really is just so heartwarming. So it's interesting. And I applaud you, by the way, for uh, sharing that it's hard for you to ask help. And there's some behavior styles that it is. It's hard to ask for help.
Which is an odd thing for me to say, actually, because my listeners know the story really well. I started this podcast in 2012 at a time when I desperately needed help fact, I needed it so desperately. I couldn't even afford anything. I couldn't afford to buy a book. That's how bad things were. We were so deep in debt. The 2008 crisis had destroyed our finances. I mean, the whole thing had just fallen apart. And I knew I needed help. I didn't know how to get it. And I said, oh, I know. There's this stuff called podcasting. I'll create a podcast and I'll bring on all these guests who know all the stuff that I don't know, and they'll teach me for free. So I asked for help in the way that I could do it. And
there you go.
And it's been great. I mean, I've loved it. The big surprise for me was how much I loved doing the podcasts. So that's why I've been doing them ever since. But nevertheless, the fact is that despite having that breakthrough moment, I still struggle. And it's partly because of the programming that we all get. I mean, I certainly got a lot of it as I was growing up. Be self-sufficient. You have to take the bull by the horns. You have to go do the stuff. You can make all this happen. You can do this. It's up to you. You can do this. And I kept taking it in, saying, yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, sure, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. So it takes a while sometimes to overcome that programming, because that programming is, especially when it starts young, it goes pretty deep.
Well, a lot of our programming, the self-sabotaging work that I do with entrepreneurial leaders, we spend the first month clearing out all of that kind of programming.
Yeah.
So that they can really be there in their heart and in their mind when we start working on marketing plans and business plans and all that other good stuff. Because unless we get rid of that self-sabotaging stuff first,
it keeps coming back.
It keeps coming back, and all our hard work goes down the drain. And that's not what this is about. This is about shifting things and becoming who we're meant to be.
It's true. It's true. One of the things I've had to remind myself, and actually this has helped me quite a bit, is even on those situations and on those occasions where I backslide, I slip, I don't really get there, I don't do it the way I want to be doing it, I end up working against myself. There's a part of me that says, oh, no, you just lost it all. And there's the other part that says, well, no, you didn't lose all of it. You actually did some gain there. Give yourself some credit for what you did gain. Yeah, okay, you backslid a little bit, but cut yourself a little slack.
Yeah. And sometimes it's good to backslide a little bit, because when you do, that means that you're giving yourself some time and some pause. Yeah. Hopefully you reflect when you do that. And it's important to be able to do that, because if we don't pause, if we don't give ourselves time to reflect and to meditate, and to, people say, oh, meditation. Hey, it's only 10 minutes a day, 10, 15 minutes a day. That's all it is. It's about closing your eyes and just getting really quiet for 10 or 15 minutes a day. That's all it is. It's not, you don't have to do it for 30 minutes. You don't have to do it for an hour, none of that. You can do it laying in bed in the morning, which is often when I do my own meditation in the morning before I get out of bed. And, when you take that pause, that's when fresh insight comes.
That's true.
And so it is important to, you call it backsliding, I'm calling it pausing.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good phrase. I like it. In fact, it was only in the last 3 or 4 years, something like that, that I even was willing to try meditating again. I tried it in the past, couldn't get myself into it. Couldn't find any value in it. And the last few years I started to try it. And then in the last year or so, 10 minutes, heck, that was a short session. It's been like half an hour, 3/4 an hour, like not planned, just that's kind of
just happens.
It's like I'm either, it's either drought or it's like abundance. There's no in between.
Yeah. Well,
you found your
stride. You found your stride.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even do it consistently. I mean, I set the intention this past year I was going to be, making time every single day. Well, I don't make time every single day. I make it a lot more than I used to. I give myself credit for that. But there are some days I think I do meditations that don't normally qualify in some people's mind as meditations. Like you described being in bed and meditating in bed. I'll do that almost every morning. So in that sense, I'm always doing a meditation. One thing that I have learned over the years to give myself credit for is meditating when I'm out taking my walks, my nature walks. So that really is a form of meditation. It's a walking meditation. And for years I said, well, I don't really meditate. I just go take nature walks, until a friend of mine said, well, that is meditation.
That is meditation. And, it's interesting where I get my information. Just the other day I was driving I said, okay, I'm not going to listen to a podcast on the phone. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to drive in silence, which I really enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I got this information and it's like, oh, okay. The other place I get information, I call it showerology. I'm
Oh
standing
yeah, a
there
lot
in
of
the
them
shower,
do.
and it's like, okay, got it.
Mhm.
So
I,
you
I
just never know when the insight comes.
I tend to get mine at about 3 a.m. I wake
And
up in the
I
middle
just
of the
wake
night.
up at 3 a.m. and get back to
I
sleep.
wake up at 3 a.m. and all of a
There you go.
sudden something occurs to me like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. And it keeps me awake for an hour and then I go back to sleep. But that's when I tend to get most of them.
That's cool.
Well, kind of. It also interrupts the sleep pattern. So I
Yeah,
wasn't totally sold on it yet, but
I love it when I can sleep 5 hours straight. Yeah, okay, thank you.
well, actually, most of the time I do. I get fairly consistent sleep, so I'm certainly not going to complain about it because we know what happens when you complain about it.
Well, one thing that I do, Walt, is when I go to bed and I really have a challenge and I'm looking for answers, I ask my brain while I'm asleep to please look for the answer to whatever it is while I'm
hmm
sleeping and let go. And usually, sometime either during the night or in the morning, I'll get the answer that I'm looking for. So it's a lot of fun to be able to do that. Sometimes I do it just for a test. I said, okay, I got
Yeah.
to do this. And it really depends on what the question is, or what the issue is, because and the other thing I do is I put the intention that I'm dropping it in my brain's lap. I'm letting it go.
Right.
It's one of those where you don't want to be tossing and turning with worry. That's not what it's about.
hmm
Because I'm sure you know, with the I am, when you're in that state of worry, you're living in the future. You're not in the present. So, or if you keep ruminating stuff from the past, you're living a life of regret instead of being in the present, in the I am. So
And
laying
if
in
you
bed,
combine those two together, then you're both in the past and the future. You're still not in the present.
and that's exactly right. So
hmm
that's one of the models that I teach with the I am. You put a circle in the middle and the crosshairs, and then in the middle of that circle where it crosses is the I am. That's the present.
hmm
But most of us tend to live in the past and in the future. So it's this bridge
Yeah.
that because it's so challenging to stay fully focused in the present. And a lot of times we don't want to do that because we don't want to look in the mirror and look at what's looking back at us.
Yeah, that's kind of scary at times.
It can be.
It's true. Actually, what you talked about inserting and planting those ideas in your mind as you're going to sleep. A former co-host, I've had many co-hosts over the years, but one particular one who was with me for a few years, named Linda Armstrong, she called it going to school. So whenever she
Hmm.
wanted to go to school, she'd say, okay, spirits, angels, whatever, teach me something tonight. And then she'd go to bed.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And she always did too, because she expected it. So.
And that's the key, the expectation.
Mhm.
What is it that we expect? I also love this thing that Abraham Hicks. I love what they teach about segment intending.
Yes, or pre-paving, I guess is the latest
Or
term for that.
okay, and is that the latest term,
Yeah, that's
pre-paving?
that. Somewhere along the line, Esther got the idea. Okay, we got to call it pre-paving because people didn't understand what segment intending meant, so we're going to give it a different word.
Pre-paving. Okay, I gotta miss that one. And I listen to Abraham every single day.
Oh, okay.
Every day. I listen. And there are times, depending on what's going on, I listen to 2, 3 or different videos on YouTube.
Wow.
I do. I just absolutely love it. It cracks me up. It keeps me in alignment.
Yeah.
And it keeps me in alignment. And every once in a while, I catch something going, oh, goofball. So it helps me catch myself. But the segment intending, the pre-paving, um, I teach that to my clients because I mean, that is pure law of attraction work where
Oh, absolutely.
you can pre-pave, you can intend and create in your mind's eye how you want it to work. Sam, it's the same thing. Pre-paving is the same thing as intention, but it's also a visualization. You're actually hearing things how you want it to be. You're using all of your intention, all of your intuitive gifts when you're pre-paving. You're using the images that come in your mind. You're using the words that come, that you hear. You're using what you're feeling, what you're sensing, and you really visualize. To me, pre-paving is like visualizing and adding on if you're baking a cake, the visualization is the cake itself, and then the icing is the intention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, I'd also throw in there that pre-paving is a little different from setting intention, in that an intention can be set for far out. It could be like,
Yes.
this is my long-term intention, whereas pre-paving is like for the next hour or the next 2
Mhm.
hours, or the
That's
next
right.
short period of time. So yeah, it's a much more time limited in this
It is.
thing called time that doesn't really exist. It's a time limited thing.
Yeah, it is. It's like, okay, I'm going to give myself an hour to journal, or I'm going to give myself an hour to work on this homework that my own coach gave me, or I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to work on this form for my clients, that kind of thing. And this is how I want it to be. I want it to be easy, with calm, ease, and flow.
Right. Yep. It's about resetting the mindset right now, so you can use it right now.
Exactly.
It isn't so much about what you want to show up in your life, within the next 3 years. It's what's going to happen.
It's now. Yeah, it's now. It's a daily. There's 24 hours in the day. 8 of it you're sleeping, hopefully, and the rest of it you're basically pre-paving. Like say dinner is coming. Okay, I am pre-paving that all the ingredients that I need are in the kitchen, and I'm going to make a delicious dinner. End of story.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm going to make, but
that's all right. Most of the time, I don't know either. I mean, especially because Louise does most of the cooking. She's such a good cook. But every once in a while, she needs a break, and so she'll say, "Well, make dinner." I'll say, "Sure." What are we going to have? I have no idea.
Exactly. Exactly.
Whereas she's quite different about that. She has a habit from when she was quite young. When she was in her teens, her mom had a stroke, and so she ended up taking care of her mom for a few years. And out of that early habit, she developed the habit. That plus, well, also after her mom passed when she was 21. After her mom passed, she became a ski bum, moved into a ski resort, and did that for a few years, and then kind of evolved through a variety of different places that she lived. And each one of those places that she lived, to support herself, she would work in restaurants. And so in a restaurant, of course, you take the person's order and you bring the food to them, and then you announce what the specials are and so forth. So every night before dinner, she comes and announces what dinner is going to be. Not that, I've never turned down anything that she's offered because she's a great cook. But it's just part of her routine. I think it's part of how she gets herself excited to make the meal and to have the meal, and about the meal itself, about the food itself. So it's her form of pre-paving. By telling me what the menu is, she's pre-paving how it's going to play out. And it does. Which is the best part, because the food's really, really good.
Okay, see, my husband's the one who cooks. I'm like you. Like you. And my husband, who has your name, Walt, he's the one who cooks every night. And he was a short order cook, and he used to do all this stuff, and it's like, yes. And for him, it's easy, and he enjoys it. It calms him down from a hectic day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great. I know what that's like, because I grew up in a family where my mom, of course, when I grew up, the mom was the housekeeper and the cook and all that, and the dad went out and did the work. And my mom was a horrible cook. She knew it too, and she would be the first one to tell you.
My mom too. Let me tell you, my mom hated it. She hated it.
Yeah. So anyway, when you grow up in a family like that, you really don't have much of a flavor for food, because you never really got exposed to it. So I met my wife. Now, I didn't meet her until we were in our early 40s, but when I met her, I mean, there literally was the case of the way to the man's heart was through his stomach. All she had to do was serve me a couple of very simple meals. Like, oh, I'm hooked. Yeah, let's keep going. This is good.
That's great. That's funny.
It's true, though. That's the way it actually played out.
Well, and I think even though my mom disliked cooking, we're Hispanic. My parents were Cuban immigrants, and my dad, when he lived in Cuba, they were both meat eater and fish eater. So I learned at a very young age to eat oysters and clams and this, all that stuff. I love that.
So that helps explain why you live in New England like we do. I get it. Yeah.
Oh no, the Navy brought us here.
Oh, well. Oh, come on. We know how expansion or how intention works. You also had the intention of wanting to have the good seafood. You ended up here.
Well, it's interesting. We did end up here because when my husband went to the very first time he visited here, he was a young ensign, and the day that he drove over the bridge to Newport, this place just grabbed him.
Ah,
And little did we know that we would end up being stationed here and then retiring here. And he still works for the Navy, but not in the same capacity he did before,
sure.
and raising our kids here. And he knew way back when that this place had a special meaning for him.
And Newport is a beautiful town for anyone who has never been to Newport. Let me tell you. Assuming you can get in there, especially during the summer, it's crazy trying to get through there and forget finding parking. Just do a little loop. I mean, that's about the best thing you're going to do.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's yeah.
That's part of Newport in the summer. That's all there is to it.
And we actually live in the town next door. We don't even go to Newport. I think if during the summer we may go down there maybe once, maybe twice during the summer. That's about it.
Yeah. Drive past the mansions on the shore, enjoy that.
That's right.
Yeah. But it is a gorgeous town. It really is. But the other thing too is when they have the jazz festival, you don't actually just kind of show up there for the day. You book your hotel 6 months in advance,
yes,
and you basically camp out there, and you don't go anywhere because once you're there, you're not going to go anywhere anyway. It's
not going to get out. Once you get in, you're not going to get out.
That's it. You just have to wait for the whole thing to end, and then you can go. But you don't need to because it's such a nice thing anyway.
It is such a beautiful place. It's a very going to that conscious spirituality place. It is actually a very spiritual place because it is just eye candy. Watching the sailboats going by, watching the seagulls, and it's just fun.
Yes. And that's what we're all about here. I mean, you saw on the opener, Daily Dose of Happy. That's really what it's all about. It's having that daily dose of, wow, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying where I am. I'm finding, even if there are things going on that I don't like, I'm finding the joy in them too. Because every time that I can do that, my life improves. Things improve. I start getting more of the things that I want in life. And it becomes an ever-growing flow of stuff the more that I do that.
And a powerful question to ask is, because I ask it a lot, am I happy in the moment? No. Why am I not happy? And if an answer does not come back, I'm like, okay, what is going to make me happier than I am now?
What's it going to take? Yeah.
And then the answer, often comes that way. What's going to make me happier than I am now? And then what's going to make me happier than I am now? What's going to make me happier than I am now? And when I keep asking that question, and I've also learned that stepping into a place of appreciation and gratitude is enormous.
Oh, God, yes.
Every morning, thank you for my pillow. Thank you for my covers. Thank you for my bed. Thank you for being able to hear my husband in the shower. Thank you for the water that's coming down. Thank you for the light that's coming in through the windows. Thank you for the beautiful trees that are in my garden. Thank you. And it's all morning. Pretty much for the first 45 minutes for me, it's pretty much that kind of mantra. And what happens, and what a lot of people don't realize, is when you do that, you are physiologically changing your body.
Yes.
Your DHEA levels rise, and your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone, drops.
That's right.
And if you have high blood pressure, I encourage you to do this.
You're absolutely right. Yes, no doubt about that. And there is a lot of science behind that. There's no doubt about that.
Tons of science.
Either. Yeah.
And that's why I got certified in stress management, because I burned out multiple times. And I got certified with the Heart Math Institute way back in 2001.
Really? Wow.
And right after 9/11, actually.
Oh, okay.
I opened up my leadership center September 1st of 2001. 9/11 happened 10 days later. And that following weekend, we were the first flight into San Francisco.
Wow.
And I got certified up there.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was interesting because that was definitely, now that I think about it, that was definitely a pre-paving journey, because I knew I had to go. I had to go. Out of 16 people, only 3 of us showed up. We're able to
Wow.
make it
Yeah.
in. And I remember letting go. I surrendered.
Mm.
And I pre-paved it with the idea of everything works out for me. Everything is in flow. Everything is going to happen naturally. And it did.
Mm. Yeah.
And it did. When one door closed, another opened very quickly. It was insane. And then
But
I
it was
found out when I
beautiful.
got, it was beautiful. And then I found out when I got up there, because their location is in the middle of the redwood forest. I'm very allergic to redwoods.
Oh no.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me. The entire workshop. I think I went through 3 boxes of tissue. It was awful.
I have never heard of a sequoia allergy before. That's
Oh my
unbelievable.
God. It was, and I don't know if it was the redwoods or not. Whatever it was in that area, my whole face blew up. My
Oh
eyes
my
blew.
goodness.
And I've been out there once or 3 times, and all 3 times, the first time it wasn't as bad. I didn't think anything of it, but that second time, because I was living there, the second and third time because I was living there, it was awful.
How long did you live there? I'm curious.
Well, no, what I mean is for the workshop.
Oh, okay, good.
That's what I meant.
I'm
No,
trying
that's
to
what I
imagine
meant.
this like
No,
stretched out
no,
over
no, no,
months
no,
and
no.
years. Like, oh God,
It was pretty funny, actually.
that is funny. Yeah, that's really weird though. Being allergic. I mean, you're right. It could have been something else in the environment, but the sequoias dominate that landscape so much. It's your first thought, of course. It's got to be
Yeah.
something tied to the trees.
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
The things we remember.
Well, I mean, that's actually part of the course. We remember we are living in a world of polarity, and in that world of
Yes.
polarity, we are drawn much more toward the stuff we don't like. That's just part of what it is to live in such a world.
Yeah,
That's
it
one of the
is.
reasons we come here. We come here to experience all that insanity.
Well, we do, because our souls need to learn something. And whatever it is that we learn, and whatever it is that we conspired with all the other players who enter our life in this lifetime, and I put it as we are similar to a play on a stage. All right.
Yeah.
We have all these different actors that are coming in to assist us, our souls, to learn what we are meant to learn in this lifetime. And they help them learn.
Right.
It's almost like this pre-paved, pre-planned episodes where we learn different things. And based on our reaction, other people will respond with their reaction. It's very fascinating to me. I really enjoy looking at different scenarios and wonder, what other way did we plan to do this?
Well, I think that's it. I think that's part of the reason that people are so intrigued by drama.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what we're talking about is drama.
Yeah, it is drama.
People love drama. They do. They don't necessarily want to live it. They love watching it. They
Well-
love reacting to it, but they don't necessarily want to live it.
Well,
Some
they
do.
love creating it. My mom, God bless her, she just passed this past November. She was 98 years old. And
Wow.
everywhere that we drove, I told her calling in life was to be a soap opera writer. We would get stuck at a light. Okay, we would be at a red light. We can see we got stuck. We were stopped at a red light, and she would be looking at the car next to her, and there would be 2 people in the car. And by the time that light turned green, she already had an entire drama arranged about those 2 people and whatever it is that was going on in their lives. And I'm thinking, you missed your calling, Mom.
Yeah.
It's like, holy cow! It was pretty wild.
She could have made a fortune in Hollywood if she had that kind of a mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I basically told her, I said, Mom, you're watching too many telenovelas.
But that's the thing. People do enjoy it. It
They do.
isn't something that just kind of happens. They enjoy it. My sister was a theater major, so I understand that mentality that you're describing. And I don't know that she would feel like her life was complete without it. I really don't.
Well, with that drama?
Without the drama, without the focus on drama, without the appreciation of the drama, what makes good drama versus bad drama.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing. It's a big part of who she is.
Well, over the years, I look at drama and I see how it is now with me and how
Mhm.
I choose to operate in the world. And I see how I operated in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and my 50s. And in my earlier years, I would venture to say probably drama queen. Okay. But now it's like I have changed so much because of all the all the teachings, all the experiences, all the spirituality. It's like I don't want drama in my world. I don't want that kind of stuff. And when something happens now that would have created a real dramatic in another lifetime, I'm grounded, I'm calm, I'm collected, and I bring everybody down with me. Um, it's really fascinating to watch the evolution. And
Mhm.
what I've learned, and what you may find this interesting, what I learned was that a lot of my personal drama was created from a food allergy.
Really?
And yes, food can actually change your behavior. And it really, really can. And a lot of parents, I mean, I can see an allergic kid a mile away, especially if they've got lots of real dark circles under their eyes, that kind of thing. And I
Mm.
often say to parents, please, well, if they're my client,
Right.
um, watch what are you feeding your child because something is triggering them. And I got I got diagnosed with right after I had my daughter, and I've had food. I had food. I was first diagnosed with food allergies 32 years ago, and
Mm.
I was allergic to whole milk, egg whites, beef, and soybean.
Ooh.
And oh yeah, it was fun. And then I stayed away from all that for 3 years, and then when we came back to the States, um, I was literally coming unglued. I was literally coming out of my skin. And you want to talk about being a drama queen? It wasn't because I wanted to be. It's because I couldn't control it. And what I found out was I was highly allergic to wheat.
Mm.
And I wasn't allergic anymore to those other things. And what I know now, even more so, was it just wasn't wheat, it was gluten. Because
Mhm.
gluten wasn't a big deal then. And that was 32 years ago.
Yeah, gluten only became a big deal probably in the next last 20 to 25 years, something like that.
That's right. So I was diagnosed with a wheat allergy, and when we took the wheat out of my diet, oh my God, it was miraculous.
Mm.
And the drama
Old like that.
completely de-escalated. So now I know when I'm pretty much gluten free now, wheat free now, and I uh, stay away from sugar as much as I can. I do like my ice cream. Stay away from sugar.
Well,
However,
you live you're near Newport Creamery. You can't completely turn off ice cream. That's not
that's
possible.
true. That's true. We got Frosty Freeze. We have Frosty Freeze
That
too.
too. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So
By the way,
the when
one
I
of my favorite signs ever in a store was in Newport. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. It was in one of the creameries, and the sign says "closed for for the season." The reason? It's freezing. I
that's
love
great. Well, there's
that.
only one Newport Creamery left now in Newport. That's it.
Is that right? Because they're all
Yeah.
over the rest of the state. That's really
Yeah,
something.
the one in downtown Newport closed and the one on Bellevue Avenue closed. So only the one
Interesting.
on West
Okay.
Main Road is open. So just to give you the heads up.
Yep. Well, that's a true ice cream addict right there, folks. So there you go.
So yeah, so the point being that, I asked for help. I asked for divine help
Mhm.
because doctors had no idea what to do with me.
Yeah.
And that's when I finally took the bull by the horns and I said, I need to go to an allergist.
Oh, you did.
And
Wow.
yeah, and that's what happened. So it was not, the doctors had no clue. They were
Mm.
actually trying to put me on psychiatric drugs.
Mm.
And I got worse and worse and worse. And it's like, no, this is not where I lasted 2 days on those awful drugs. And
Good
I
for
said,
you
this
for
is worse.
noticing that quickly and recognizing that it
Well,
wasn't going to work.
but that was the answer to all the doctors in my world. It was always another drug, another drug, another drug. I'm like, no, there's more to this. There's more, but it wasn't just allergies, it was other things that were going on.
Mm.
So that's one of the reasons why I became a holistic practitioner because I knew I needed to save my health and my daughter's health,
Mm.
both my girls. They had challenges, and all I could say was, I don't like what I'm seeing the doctors do.
You're raising an interesting point here when you bring your daughters into it. Let me tell you why. We had a summit that we put on in January, and it was living our abundance. It was mainly about money, but it kind of spread out as it usually does. And at one point, we had 16 speakers and 5 workshops. The 4th workshop was called Blasting Through Your Blocks, basically a way of clearing out money blocks. And one of the participants in the workshop was also one of the speakers. And everybody who was there went through this little thing with the guy who was leading it, Dan Mangano. He's one of the co-hosts here on the show, really fabulous guy. But anyway, he was leading us through this stuff and basically helping get behind, the conscious mind and stuff and clearing stuff out. And we were all experiencing, we would listen to each person as they were going through their thing one at a time. And we were all kind of vicariously doing it with them. And so we were all getting value out of that. I was last because I was the host of things, so I saved myself for last. And then when mine was done, I was kind of a little disoriented because Dan does a great job. He's really, really good at it. And so I needed a moment just to kind of recover. And while I was recovering, Maria, who was also involved, one of the speakers, she jumped on and said, I just need to tell you something while Walt's recovering. I have had a severe chronic case of fibromyalgia for more than 30 years. I have been dealing with chronic pain continuously, 8 on a scale of 10 every single day throughout that entire period. I've been to doctors, I've been to all kinds of stuff. After doing that session with Dan, it's down to a 3.
Yeah, nice.
And by the end of that workshop, it was down to a 0. And I just got word from her today. Now, that was in January. I just got word from her today. It's still at 0. And she is just absolutely ecstatic. Now, the reason I bring this up is her daughter also has fibromyalgia. And so she didn't do this for an extended period of time. She did it for about a week or 2, but she wanted to see what would happen if she didn't tell her daughter about the experience and just see what was her own experience impacting her daughter's experience. And she didn't get a clear result out of it, but she did notice that her daughter's symptoms seemed to reduce during that time. So that's my long-winded way of asking, did you find that your situation was impacting on your daughters?
My daughter's situations were different, very, very different. We did not have the same issues. Mm-hmm. Ironically, my oldest daughter now has gluten allergies, and she's also highly allergic to shellfish, which I am not. Mm-hmm. I don't know. If anything, it would be my oldest daughter versus my middle daughter. My middle daughter is, she's got a rock star constitution. My oldest, I suspect, and this is one of the things that I do in emotion code and body code, I suspect that they may have picked up some sabotaging emotions from me in utero. Mm-hmm. Okay, in utero, because I had 2 such. Hello, Neo.
Oh, you was dropping the last few seconds here. Hey guy.
How's it going, you guys? I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in my studio at home, but I'll give you a rundown of exactly where I'm at. I don't know if
you're out and about. We know I can tell that.
This is let me see if I can turn this camera around. Oh man, probably can't. But yes, I am in Missouri.
Missouri. Oh my goodness, this guy lives in Florida.
Yeah, amazing, beautiful mountains. I'm out here just chilling. My alarm went off for the show today, and I was like, oh man, I totally forgot to hit Walt up. So I'm sorry I couldn't be there. But you guys know, hi Terry, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You guys know I love and support you 100%. But I got to get back to this. I'm gonna let you guys get back to talking. I just want to step in and say hi. All right.
Good deal. We'll see you next Friday.
All right. See you next Friday. Later.
Take care, brother. Bye. Oh, that was nice for him to drop in.
It was very nice.
Yeah.